Okay, let's jump right in. So I saw this projection, global spring water market hitting, what, USD 262.84 billion in 2025.
That's the number. It's pretty massive.
Yeah, it's a jaw-dropping figure, really. It
Yeah.
makes you wonder, what's driving all that? Why so much demand? And where's the growth actually, bubbling up?
Exactly. That's the core question. And it's what we're diving into today. We've got this market report. It was updated just March 2025, so pretty fresh.
Okay.
And it gives a really detailed picture of the whole global spring water scene. Market sizes, forecasts right out to 2033, and the key factors behind it all.
Right. So the plan here is to take all that data, this kind of mountain of information, and just boil it down for you, the listener. We want to get the essential insights, understand why this market is so big and still growing, without getting totally bogged down in spreadsheets.
Exactly. A clear path to understanding what's happening.
Yeah, like the quick guide to the spring water world, and hopefully find some surprising bits along the way.
Precisely. We'll flag the key trends, what's shaping things, and definitely look at the regions where things are moving fastest.
And what makes people actually choose spring water?
Right. What influences that choice?
Okay, so let's start big picture. What's this report saying about the overall size and the expected growth globally?
Well, it paints a picture of really significant expansion, like you said, hitting that USD 262.84 billion mark in 2025.
Okay.
But looking ahead, by 2033, it's forecast to grow to USD 555.28 billion.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you look at the growth rate, the CAGR, that's a compound annual growth rate of 9.80% between 2025 and 2033.
Almost 10% a year.
Sustained significant growth. Yeah.
For water, I mean, that kind of growth really suggests something major is shifting, doesn't it? What's the engine here?
Well, a primary driver is definitely the growing focus on health and wellness. People are actively, consciously choosing to step away from sugary drinks. Spring water is seen as, natural, healthier hydration.
That makes sense. We see that across lots of food and drink categories. Now, it's global, but I bet the growth isn't the same everywhere, right? Yeah. Where's the action happening regionally?
Absolutely. It varies quite a bit. North America actually holds the biggest slice right now.
Yeah.
Over 40% of the global revenue in 2025. That translates to about USD 76.22 billion.
76 billion.
Yeah, and the U.S. market within that is dominant, around USD 60.14 billion.
Right.
North America is expected to keep growing steadily, a CAGR of about 7.8% through 2033. Canada is also strong, 9.15 billion, 8.6% growth. And Mexico, nearly 7 billion with 8.3% growth. So, solid expansion in established markets.
Okay, so North America is a current leader by size. What about Europe? How does it stack up?
Europe's another major player. It accounts for over 30% of the revenue.
30%, okay.
Market size of USD 97.25 billion in 2025, and projected growth, CAGR, is 8.2%.
Still strong.
Yeah. Key countries there. The UK is significant, USD 16.34 billion, growing at 9.0%. Germany's even bigger at 19.26 billion, 8.4% growth. And Russia's also notable, 15 billion, though slightly slower growth at 7.2%. Again, consistent expansion.
Interesting. So these big developed regions are still growing nicely. But where's the real acceleration, the really dynamic growth figures?
That would definitely be the Asia-Pacific region.
Okay.
Right now, it holds around 23% of the global revenue, about USD 63.08 billion in 2025. But, and this is the key part, it's expected to have the fastest CAGR.
How fast?
12.6% through 2033.
12.6.
Yeah. And what's interesting there, it's not just population, it's rising incomes, a growing middle class, valuing the convenience and maybe the perceived safety of bottled water, even where tap water is improving.
Right.
China's a huge piece of that. USD 26.49 billion market, 12.1% growth. But India is even more striking. Projected CAGR of 14.5%. Market size around 6.3 billion. And then you've got Japan and South Korea also showing really strong momentum. CAGR is over 11%.
Wow. Okay. Asia Pacific is clearly the growth engine then. What about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa? Do they register much?
They do. South America holds over 5% of the market. That's about USD 9.99 billion in 2025. And it has a strong growth forecast, too, 10.5% CAGR.
10.5, okay.
Brazil's a key market there, over 4 billion, growing at 11.1%. The Middle East is smaller, around 2% share, but still significant value, USD 10.51 billion.
And growing fast, too.
Yeah, 11.1% CAGR there as well, driven by countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. UAE, both showing over 11% growth.
Okay, and Africa. It often seems like a region with huge potential, but sometimes lags in these global reports. How does it look here?
Well, Africa currently holds the smallest share, around 1%, market size about USD 5.78 billion in 2025.
Okay, quite small relatively.
But it's projected to have the highest CAGR of any region.
Get out. How high?
A remarkable 19.2%.
19.2. Yeah.
That's almost double the global average. What on earth is driving that kind of explosive growth? It's largely down to fundamentals in many areas. Limited access to consistently clean, reliable tap water is a huge factor.
Right, basic necessity.
Exactly. And rapid urbanization plays a big role too. So bottled spring water becomes, well, a vital and trusted source of hydration. South Africa and Nigeria are particularly showing very rapid expansion, over 19-20% CAGRs.
A 19.2% CAGR is just, yeah, really significant. So it sounds like health consciousness is a big global thing, but in these super high growth regions, basic access to safe water is maybe even more critical.
That's a fair assessment, yeah.
Are there other factors fueling this sort of global thirst?
Oh, absolutely. Expanding distribution is crucial.
Availability.
Exactly, just getting the product to people, the increased footprint of hypermarkets, supermarkets, plus the massive growth of online retail platforms.
Yeah.
It all makes spring water much more accessible everywhere.
Right.
You see examples like 10 Alkaline Spring Water recently expanding its distribution in the U.S. Northeast. Wider availability boosts sales. It's about desire and access.
So people want healthier options, and it's just easier to get them out. Makes sense. But with all this growth, surely there are some, I don't know, challenges, potential brakes on this expansion.
Yes, definitely. There are restraining factors. Environmental concerns are probably the biggest headwind.
Plastic waste.
Exactly. Plastic bottles, sustainability issues. As consumers become more eco-conscious, the environmental footprint really matters. It can definitely influence buying choices.
Yeah, you hear about that constantly.
And the other thing is cost. Production, distribution, it can be expensive. That can impact affordability, especially in lower-income regions, potentially limiting how deeply the market can penetrate.
Right, the price point matters.
Yeah.
So environmental concerns and cost. How are companies reacting, especially to the environmental pressures?
Well, we're seeing some interesting trends emerge because of that. There's a definite growing preference and demand for sustainable packaging.
Like what?
More companies are exploring recycled materials, fully recyclable options, even plant-based plastics. We're also seeing more premium and functional waters popping up.
Functional, like added minerals.
Yeah, electrolyte-enhanced, specific mineral profiles, alkaline water, catering to those health and wellness trends we talked about.
Okay.
So, for instance, Avian's making that big push towards using 100% recycled plastic in their bottles.
Right, I saw that.
And then you have brands like Icelandic Glacial. They really emphasize their natural alkalinity, positioning themselves as premium, healthy, appealing to that specific consumer.
So innovating in the bottle itself, but also what the bottle is made of. Makes sense. Let's maybe break down the market structure a bit. How is it segmented?
Sure. Two main ways to look at it are container type and the distribution channel, how it gets to you.
Okay, container type first.
Right now, bottled water, various sizes, is totally dominant.
Convenience, I guess.
Convenience, absolutely. And also that perception of safety, especially, like we said, where tap water quality might be uncertain.
Right.
However, the fastest growing segment is actually canned water.
Canned, like soda cans.
Yeah, exactly. Mostly driven by sustainability. Aluminum is highly easily recyclable compared to some plastics, so there's a growing preference there.
Interesting. Okay, and distribution. Where are people actually buying all this water?
The biggest channel currently is hypermarkets and supermarkets.
Makes sense. They're everywhere.
Wide reach, huge variety on the shelves. They hold the largest market share. But online retail is expanding incredibly rapidly.
Of course.
Offering convenience, often a broader selection, access to niche brands maybe. It's growing fast.
It's fascinating how even something as basic as water gets shaped by these big shifts in retail and environmental thinking. Who are the big fish in this pond? The major companies.
It's a pretty competitive space. You've got the global giants, of course, Danone, Nestle, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo.
Usual suspects.
Yeah, they're all competing hard for market share. But you also have a lot of smaller, strong regional brands playing a significant role, too.
And what are they competing on? Just price.
Price is always a factor, but it's increasingly about product innovation. Those premium waters, flavored options, functional benefits.
Right, added value stuff.
Exactly. And increasingly sustainability. Demonstrating good environmental practices is becoming a real competitive edge.
Okay, so summing this all up,
Uh-huh.
we're looking at a global spring water market that's not just large, but has really significant growth projected ahead,
Definitely.
driven largely by this health trend, but also just the basic need for clean, reliable hydration in many parts of the world.
Correct.
And the hot spots for growth, the real acceleration, seems to be Asia Pacific and Africa.
Those are the ones showing the highest projected CAGRs, yeah.
While sustainability is becoming this really critical factor influencing everything from packaging to brand perception.
That's a really solid summary. You've got the move to healthier drinks, the surge in demand in developing economies, and this growing environmental awareness all shaping the industry.
This has been really eye-opening. It's amazing how much complexity there is under the surface of something we just grab off the shelf without much thought sometimes.
It really is. It's that intersection of, fundamental human needs, changing consumer tastes, and these big global environmental challenges all coming together in this massive market.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Given this rapid growth, especially in regions that are actually struggling with water scarcity,
A key point.
and knowing the environmental impact of all this packaging, what kind of innovative solutions or maybe shifts in our own behavior might we see in the next decade?
Yeah.
How do we balance the need to hydrate with the need to protect the planet?
Yeah.
Think about, our individual choices, what technology might do for packaging, and maybe what role governments need to play in managing this resource. Lots to consider there.